I'm Les.
And I'm Ree. This is Not That Kind of Book Club,
a bookish podcast where we read it so you don't have to.
Hey book friends, it is Not That Kind of Book Club. I'm Ree.
I'm Les, a bookish podcast where we read it so you don't have to. I did it backwards today, but that's okay. I'm Les.
And I'm Ree. We're here. And we have Morgan Dick, the author of our book, Favorite Daughter. She is on the line with us. Thank you so much, Morgan, again, for joining in for another episode. This one, we are going to deep dive into the book itself, and we're so excited to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. So our one intro question, it'll be quick, I promise. But it's a bookish would you rather. So each of us are going to take a turn. We'll both do it, or all of us will do it once. But essentially, you're going to ask a would you rather question about something bookish. So I will give an example and go from there. So the example that I have is, well, this will count as my question.
Yep.
No, it's not going to count as my question. It's the example. I lied. So if you had to live in the world of The Hunger Games or Divergent, where would you choose? That's the example.
Am I answering first? Oh, no, that's the example. Okay.
Well, you can still answer it. I mean,
Yeah,
I would live in
one?
the Divergent world, thank you. I'll go live in my factions. Mm-hmm. There's no why
I
to it.
actually
I'm just
haven't
gonna do
read either of these series, which I feel a little bit guilty about. So I would be basing my answer completely on the movie adaptations.
That's totally fine because, in all honesty, I would probably die in both of those worlds, so neither of them are really a win for me.
I'm going to go be in the blue faction where I'm a scientist, basically, or I'm just, like,
Ooh.
super smart at certain random things. So, like, yeah, no, factions. I can't fight to the
Yeah.
death. I'll die
No.
first.
I think it's easier to fly under the radar in the Divergent world as opposed to the Hunger Games.
Exactly. Okay.
All right. Would you rather only be able to finish one book for an entire year? You can reread it as many times as you want, or only be able to finish half of the books you read for a year. So you will never be able to finish a book for a year, but you can read different ones, or you can only read one book for an entire year.
Wait.
I think I have to.
clarification. Can I read that one book over and over and over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which do you go with, Morgan?
I think I have to go with reading half of as many books as I want. Because then I'll just come back to them. I'll be like, okay, which ones, what's the cream of the crop? And then I'll make a note about them. And then the next year I'll be like, okay, right, let's go back to that. The second
Now I
half
can
of
finish
that
all
book.
these books.
Okay, I have a second clarification question.
Okay.
In the books that I can only read half of, can I skip through it, or I have to read from the start to just the middle of the book?
Start to just the middle.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to read one book for the year, but I'm going to pick the biggest book ever. So, like, maybe I'll go read, what is it? Prairie of an Orange Tree?
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's a giant one. So let's be real. By the time I get to the end, I'll probably have already forgot the beginning. So, like,
That's really smart, actually.
so I'll just reread it because that book is going to probably take me 6 months to read.
Yep.
So I only have to
That's
read
really
it twice.
That's a pretty good
You
year.
gamed the system just
Yeah.
now. You won.
Oh my
You
gosh.
outgamed the question, I think.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, Morgan, do you want to go next or do you want me to go next?
So I have to think of one?
Yeah.
Is that the deal? Okay, so you go next.
Okay. So here's my Harry Potterness coming out. Would you rather be an evil Gryffindor student or a good Slytherin student? Like, you're a good guy or a bad guy? Is there any bad guys in Gryffindor?
No,
Well,
not really.
Hypothetically, you're a bad guy. So you are Draco Malfoy if he was a Gryffindor, and the other one would be like Hermione Granger as
A
a
Slytherin.
Slytherin.
I think I'd rather be a good guy in the evil house, if
Oh,
that
yeah.
makes sense.
Yep.
Me too. Guys, I'm already a Slytherin, and I'm not evil.
you?
So I'll just stick with my house and be a good guy.
It's like Dungeons and Dragons being like chaotic good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with my partner the other day about, the quizzes online. I feel like they were really popular, 10 years
Yep,
ago or 15 years
BuzzFeed.
ago about, yeah, what sort, if the sorting hat will put you into a house, what Harry Potter house would you be? And I swear to you, I always get Gryffindor. And he would not believe me when I said this. I said, truly, I will always get Gryffindor. Like, I think that's where I belong. And he thought I was either making it up or that the system was rigged because everyone wants to think that they would be in Gryffindor. And there's probably some like Ravenclaw-ishness about me, maybe more so than the like brave and brawn. But nope, I'm standing by it because it's been my result every single time.
Honestly, I always joked because like I've always been a Slytherin, and like I'm not a bad guy, guys. It's just like certain character traits, right? But
The
I've
secretiveness.
always said I'm a Slytherin, but I'm a self-proclaimed Ravenclaw because I would like to just be Ravenclaw. But my sister's always been a Hufflepuff, and I just think it's hilarious.
Oh, that's the worst.
She's a
that's the worst one.
Hufflepuff.
That's the worst.
And like every time she's like, yeah, I'm Hufflepuff. I'm like, who is even in Hufflepuff in Harry Potter? I don't know anybody in Hufflepuff.
No one. I think the Sorting Hat song and the Hufflepuff is just like, and Hufflepuff takes all the rest. Isn't that the way it goes?
Yep.
They're just like, they're just leftovers, the sort of bland,
They just accept everyone.
people.
Oh, my poor sister, when she hears this, is going to be like, wow, I'm blah.
Blah.
She's not blah, but she's a Hufflepuff.
Maybe I'm misremembering.
Nope, you are dead on because I remember that Sorting Hat song.
Oh my God, or the like Harry Potter world. Pottermania or Pottermore.
Pottermore.
Yep.
Pottermore.
I do remember that.
Yep. Anyways, we could talk about Harry Potter all day, but this is not a podcast about Harry Potter. It's a podcast about all books. So let's start right into the book questions. This one is actually from me. You have these nicknames for characters and really wondering where you got them. I mean, when I hear the name Michelle, I do not think Mickey. And when you talk about Charlotte, I do not think Arlo. So how did you come up with those?
It was really out of necessity for the plot because I knew that these two women would know each other's full names, probably. But I needed to give them a nickname or a given name that would not be immediately recognizable as, Arlo isn't a common name for a woman at all. So it's like a weird nickname and not one where you would think her name is Charlotte automatically. So yeah, I needed to have the characters not be able to connect the dots right away. I do like, though, quirky names for characters in general.
Yeah.
And I like that neither of those names, Mickey or Arlo, are particularly feminine. I don't know, maybe that's just a personal thing of mine. I just thought they were interesting. Interesting names to give a character. I semi know someone in my real life who goes by Mickey. I think her full name is Michaela.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've always enjoyed Mickey as a nickname. And so I thought before it was Michelle, I did have Mickey before it was Michelle even.
Okay.
I sort of retrofit. I was like, okay, if her name is Mickey, what could be her actual name? Because I wanted to call her Mickey for some reason. So yeah, that's where they came from.
I did have a girl I went to school with that her name was Michaela and she went by Mickey.
Mickey. Oh, Mickey,
Yeah.
you're so fun, you blow my mind. That's where my mind goes when you say Mickey. Okay, so you get into some pretty heavy topics like abandonment issues, addiction issues, obviously manipulations from a father who's no longer alive, and tons of childhood trauma. So where did you pull this from? Like, is some of it inspiration from your life, or did you just go kind of almost pull out of a hat and decide, oh, you know what? I like these different trauma bonding topics. Let's pick them.
I know. Whenever I'm describing the book to people, I have to be like, "Oh, but it's funny. I promise." Like, it's about addiction and abandonment and being a parentified child, but it's funny. I promise. I mean, I mentioned this to you previously, but my brother is a recovering alcoholic, and growing up in a household with an addict definitely left. It had an impact on me, not in the way that it did the women in this book, but for sure it did shape me. And I think I probably have more to work through on that. Like I'm probably not done processing it. I kind of thought I was over it and that it was just a thing of the past that didn't impact me anymore. But then I was writing this book and was like, oh, actually, I think I have feelings about a lot of this stuff.
Time to
There's
book a
one
therapy
moment.
appointment.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, maybe this is a sign. There's one moment where one of the women is remembering being a little girl and the dad being brought to the door by the cops and having one cop on either arm, and the dad looking at the girl and the look of shame on his face as he realized that his daughter was seeing him in this state. And that's something that came from an experience I had with my brother, where the police brought him home. And there were so many moments like that as a little girl, where I was just simultaneously really scared for him and really embarrassed of him. And so a lot of those feelings did end up in the book, for sure. And he was very actually generous as I was writing it and revising it, where we talked about it a few times, and I could ask him some questions about his experience, and he wanted me to be as honest as possible. And even before the book was launched, I asked him, do you want me to talk about, like, can I talk about you? Like, I don't have to, because it is your life and your story. And he was like, no, I think you should bring up some of this stuff just to help get the message out there, so that people, to reduce stigma, get people talking about addiction, about mental health, and to not sugarcoat anything. So yeah, a lot of it does come from my own experiences with my family, with some of that stuff. But I mean, I definitely had a much happier, more functional upbringing than either of the women in this book. A lot of it I came from research as well. Things like Arlo grows up as a very parentified child, right? She's the one who's like picking up a rotisserie chicken for dinner as a 10-year-old, and like making sure her dad is like still alive when he passes out on the couch. And so things like that I researched, because I don't have any direct experience with that. So combination of my own life, and then trying to take the time to put myself in other people's shoes and think about how this man, this theoretical fictional man, how his life would have these ripple effects in his children's lives.
Well, and I can see how, like, I know we may have touched on this a little bit, but I can see how this is also like a healing thing, because as somebody who grows up with a family member or somebody they know, whether it's a friend, anyone that is going through an addiction of some kind, and there's varying addictions, but they have an impact on you that not everybody understands, right? Like, it when you look at it from the outside, you're like, yeah, the person with the addiction is the one suffering and the one that's struggling. But it's often that people don't look around them, right? Those people that are supporting them, how are they feeling? Because it is terrifying going to sleep at night being like, I don't know if he's going to make it home, or I don't know if he's going to accidentally like overdose or pass out and not wake up, right? Like little things like that. And I feel that that is trauma, that kind of like that PTSD factor almost, that I feel like when you're writing something like this, you're kind of able to express those things. And it's like when somebody says journaling helps you get over things, or journaling helps you kind of process things. I think that, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm making an assumption, but I'm assuming too that like something like this, where you are diving into something that's heavy and you're taking little pieces of your experience, I feel like it could be a little bit of like a healing kind of path.
I think so. I think so, for sure. Yeah, and writing it definitely made me think about the boundaries that I've learned to establish with in general in my life, right? I mean, that was a big learning moment for all of us around Kyle's addiction, like what's in your control and what isn't, and learning about codependency, and not taking on other people's problems as your own, and knowing where your role in something starts and stops. Like, that's just hard. I mean, for all humans, I think, whether or not you have addiction around you. So I think that, yeah, and that's something that's come up a lot for me in the last few years of my own life. So one of the other things that came through on the page, I think.
And I think it's very lovely to, like, lovely might not be the correct word, but I think it is very, like, I don't know another word to explain it. It is lovely that your brother's willing to share that experience with you, and being willing for you to share it with others. I know that addiction can be something that's stigmatized, and people don't always look at it as like somebody is struggling. They look at it more as they made wrong decisions. They're being stupid. But in reality, like, you don't understand what an addiction feels like. Like, they're struggling. They're turning to other things because they are
They're
struggling
sick.
themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. And like, it's not that they make bad decisions and they are willingly
Yeah.
choosing to. They're trying to cope with things and they're trying to like work through things, and it's why it is considered a mental illness. Like, it's I don't know. I think it's just still so stigmatized and I hate it. But what I was saying is I'm really grateful that he's willing to share that story with you and like share his journey, because that's also healing for him.
Hmm. Yeah, me too. Thank you. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I think you're right that being able to, yeah, share that and pass on his experience, hoping that it'll connect with someone else.
Yeah.
You're
And
right. That
like,
probably has been nice for him.
yeah, and you share it with somebody. It's the same with like when I talk about ADHD with people and I'll say something and they're like, wow, I didn't think of it like that. And you're like, see, this is what we can build off of from each other. Like, we are learning from each other all the time. And sometimes what I see something as isn't the same as what Reach sees it as. And then we have a conversation and she'll be like, holy, like, I didn't know that. So
You flip my worldview.
yeah. But okay, I'll go back to the sheet of paper.
Book talk.
So if you were to be put in a similar situation as this, how would you have reacted to finding out you have a sister? And what would you have done with the money, or how would you have felt about the whole money situation?
So am I Mickey or am I Arlo in
I
this,
mean,
in
I
this
would.
hypothetical?
The next thing I wrote down was kind of thinking about it from both perspectives.
Okay. Well, for me, I don't know. I think the thing with these two women is that they neither of them at the start really has much self-awareness at all. And Mickey develops the self-awareness a bit quicker than Arlo does. It kind of takes her
Yes.
until the end to clue into the what she has done and what she needs to do and the help that she needs. I think for me, I would hope that I have a little bit more self-awareness than they do, and better boundaries, where I think in real life, if this happened to me, I just wouldn't want to participate. I'd be like, okay, this clearly is like a scheming. My dad sucked. He had so many problems. I just don't want to, I want to just disconnect myself from this. And like, yeah, I'm going to lose access to this chunk of money. That's super unfair, but I don't want to be like a pawn on the chessboard. That's what I hope I would do. But in the actual, yeah, if I was actually in the given situation, I don't know. It's hard to say because it's a life-changing amount of money. So maybe I would just think, oh, I could deal with this. Like I could, play the game, as Mickey says at one point, and do these 7 sessions, and just not. I guess try not to feel too much, right? Not to feel too betrayed, or like just to keep eyes on the prize and get the money at the end. I don't know. I like to think that I would just extricate myself, but who's to say?
Well, and I think it's hard too because you don't always understand a situation until you're in it. And as an outsider looking in, I'd be like, Rihanna, what the heck are you doing? Like, that's a really stupid decision. But then when you're in the moment, you're like, this is the decision I'm making because this is the moment I'm in. So, yeah, I kind of agree with what you're saying there. I don't really know what I would do. I also think I wouldn't want to be a part of it, but then at the same time, I'd probably want to just like get to know the other person and like figure out some of that. But yeah.
It's also $5 million. I mean,
Yeah.
you could do a lot with $5 million.
Yeah. And like we have one more question kind of in here that we'll end our episode with, but we do have some reader questions that were submitted to us. By a reader on our page. So Erin reads a lot, sent in 2. Ree, I'll let you kind of take it away because she was chatting with you.
Yeah, so obviously you've kind of already answered this, but Aaron wanted to know, was Mickey inspired by someone you know, and was the story itself inspired by a story or someone you know, which fortunately you kind of covered, and I mean, we don't need to be too redundant in asking that. But second question is, where do you see the sisters being in 5 years?
This is a question my editor actually asked me. I was writing a Q&A, and she put that in as one of the last questions. And in my mind, I think that Mickey and Arlo do have a relationship. I could see them meeting maybe once a month for coffee or something, right? And in my mind, I think the scenario I had was that I think Tom is going to be getting married at some point, and he's going to invite Mickey because him and Mickey are like tight, right?
Yep.
And I could see Mickey bringing Arlo as a +1 for maybe this like destination wedding somewhere, and Tom being horrified that Arlo is there because they have this weird, like, messy history. And I could see them all, you know, down in Mexico or somewhere, just like having a very chaotic time. Yeah, I definitely think all of these characters are still in each other's lives in some capacity, and I do think I would see over time, like over the years, Mickey and Arlo developing a relationship like sisters, right? Like becoming sisters to each other.
Beautiful.
I love that. I was gonna say idea for a novella.
Yeah. Bring us more favorite daughters.
The
Favorite
Audible
daughter
original or something. Yeah.
Mexico edition.
Yes.
Could you imagine? Oh my god, just a Wattpad original this time. You know?
We're here for it.
Oh my god, I love that. So before we kind of finish anything up, I just kind of want to ask you too, like, if somebody were to ask you, like, out of nowhere, they've never read your book, and they're like, hey, what is your book about? Can you give me like a little bit of a synopsis? Like, how would you explain it to somebody who's just like, hey, what's this about?
I tell people it is a book about two estranged half-sisters who were brought together by their very problematic father's dying wish. That one of the sisters inherits a big sum of money from him, and there's a condition on the will that she has to go get therapy first before she can access the funds, and that the dad has sort of rigged it so that the therapist she ends up meeting with is a half-sister who she's never met and who neither of them recognizes the other, and that things get very chaotic and messy from there. It is kind of hard to describe, though. I know. I know what you're saying. It's a bit of it doesn't have like a nice one line sort of description to encapsulate everything, because then you're like, oh, then there's the money, and then one girl's been cut out of the will, and blah blah blah. But yeah, at its heart, it's about two women getting thrown together without knowing that they're related, and having competing interests over the money in this will, and really in how they get to remember their dad, because Arlo was very attached to him, had a very different mental image of him than Mickey does, who really didn't think much of him at all. So it's a fight not just for the money, but also I think for his memory, and also for understanding like what significance they had as daughters in his life. So it's a bit of a competition that way as well.
Okay, I have another one that like is really random. So I have questions that will just like randomly appear in my brain. But if you had to pick a theme song for this book, what would you pick?
Okay, that's a good question.
Or just like a song that would kind of like
go with it.
I mean,
I like.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. This is just my brain. I'm like theme song, like descriptive song, like.
I like the. I think it's a song from the '60s. You Don't Own Me. I don't know who the artist is.
Is that Leslie Gore?
Me. Yes, I think so. Yeah. I'm not just one of your.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes. Tell me what to say.
And there's a version on the Suicide Squad soundtrack.
Yep.
That somebody like redid it, and my sister and I were obsessed with it. And then my mom's like, this song is literally from the '60s when I was growing up. And Kathy and I were like, oh,
it's a great song, and it makes me think of women behaving badly, or just because, right? Like, and that's obviously a big thing in this book, is women making questionable choices, which I love. It's like an act of rebellion, I think, for a woman to behave in an unlikable way in fiction.
You're so right, and I think you did a fantastic job of embodying that throughout your book with these characters, because really at the beginning they're not lovable characters whatsoever, but you turn into really enjoying them by the end of the book, which is so fantastic. So for those that haven't read this yet, Favorite Daughter by Morgan Dick. I mean, if you're this deep into the episode and you haven't read it, we've completely spoiled everything for you, but it's still so worth it for you to read this. Morgan, again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We are so honored that you were willing to come in and join us for a couple episodes here.
Yes, I love it. I mean, it's a small world because, like, Morgan, I'm calling you out because you're also half Italian. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
But being an Italian, you know everybody. So I love that like our paths have crossed kind of multiple times, I guess. And it's actually Zia Linda that set us up. And
Thanks, Zia.
Does she
yeah,
does she listen? Do you know?
my Zia. I don't know, but I'm gonna send her the podcast and tell her she
Yeah,
has
you
to
should.
because yeah, she's my
She
mom's
came to my
best
book
friend.
launch.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that's how I saw it too. I was like, oh my gosh, like I know that I know Morgan from somewhere, and I know that she reached out to you about would you ever do a podcast, and then here we are, and you even personalized our books, and like
Which
I'm
was so
keeping
sweet.
it
Thank
forever.
you.
It was the best. And but yeah, I just wanted to say it's such a small world that not just Italians, just in general, but
It really
yeah,
is.
right? I'm just really glad
Yeah.
that it kind of worked out this way, and we're so lucky to have gotten to talk to you. And Ree and I, well, I'll talk for Ree, but when
Yes.
we're in Calgary next, we're going to have to sit down and go for coffee and, you know,
Yeah,
just
yes, please. I would
meet in
love
real
that.
life.
Yes, be real life friends.
Be real life book friends. Yes,
I
I would
love
love
it.
that.
I love
Thank
it,
you so
but-
much for having me.
Of
This has been
course.
super
Thank
fun.
you.
Of course, we will let you go. And we're just so glad you were here today.
Okay. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Bye, Morgan. That was really fun.
That was fantastic. Our first author
I
on the
know,
book
how
podcast.
exciting. And
That
like
was
now
amazing.
we're going to have more authors coming, guys. I'm so pumped. This was so fun. And like getting to kind of do a two-parter where like you get to know the author and then you get to talk about the book. I think
Yes.
that's super fun too. But Rhea, I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
What would you do with $5 million?
Ooh, I've definitely thought about this before. Pay off debt, give my parents some money, pay off their bills. Maybe buy a new house, invest some because apparently you need to plan for the future. And then probably about $1 million of it, I would spend absolutely foolishly and recklessly. Like, can you spend $1 million in one day would be the game that I try to play.
Oh God. If
Can
I
you
did that,
imagine?
I think
Like,
my partner would kill me.
my partner would not be pleased at all. But I mean, if you have $5 million, like that's only a fifth of it.
Do you want to know the worst part? If I won or if I got $5 million and like say I'm married with my partner, whatever, you know what he would want me to buy?
I don't know what.
He would want me to buy a farm and cows.
Cows are expensive. There goes all your money.
He wants me to buy him cows because at one point he was like, Alessia, you should go get your PhD. And I was like, you want me to go back to school for 5 years? He's like, yeah, because then you'll be a doctor of like psychology and I can be the stay-at-home farmer dad and you can just buy me
Farmer Ben.
cows. And I'm like, I can buy you cows. So like what? I'm the sugar cow mama.
You are the sugar cow mama.
Like what else? So I'm gonna buy a farm, guys. I'm
Yep.
gonna buy a farm. I'm gonna buy cows. Maybe I'll buy some llamas,
May as well get some alpacas, some goats.
alpacas. No, alpacas hate Ben. They like every time we see one, they spit in his face. They like me though, so it's fine. Ooh, I could get some like teacup piglets. I hate chickens. We're not getting chickens.
Mini cows. You could get mini Highland cows.
I know, but
oh my
see,
gosh, I'm coming
Ben
over.
and I had this conversation.
Yeah.
And I told him like, yeah, I'll get a Highland cow, and he's like, yeah, but then you're gonna want it in the house and treat it like a dog. And I was like,
Most
yeah,
likely, yeah.
So what?
You just get a
I
Roomba.
have $5 million. I could do what I want.
Exactly. You could have someone clean your floor every day for $5 million.
You know what? I'm gonna have like a she shed,
She should.
and I'm gonna turn it into like a big library.
Yep.
And
With
nobody
your
else.
Highland
I'm gonna
cow.
have with Highland cows. But what if they eat my books?
Replace them. You have $5 million.
Yeah, but what if I spent $5 million on my cows? Those are investments.
You don't even have the money yet, and you're already running into problems with it.
So okay, let me go back to this. So I'm gonna buy an acreage. I'm gonna buy cows apparently.
You're going to
I'm
go back
also-
to school.
Yeah, I'll pay for my PhD in
Yep.
cash. Do you think the university would take my like $25,000 cash? Be like, here, I'm paying for this for
I'm
the
going
next
to do
3
it in
years.
pennies, actually.
Oh my god, could you
Legal
imagine?
tender.
I'm gonna bring them rolls.
Rolls of coin.
I'm gonna have to use a wagon to like pull it in. Could you imagine?
Oh my gosh.
And then they'll look at me and they're like, we take e-transfer or credit card. Be like, well, that's too bad.
Here you go. Start counting.
But at least they're in rolls. It's easier to
Exactly.
count.
Yep.
I would also pay off debt.
Yeah.
I have a lot of debt. And I also would probably pay off some things for my mom. Like she just bought a
Yeah.
brand new vehicle. I'd literally pay it off
Oh,
for
yeah.
her.
I would
And,
do that for family.
like, my mom has supported me for so long and through so much because our family has been through a lot. So yeah, of course I'm going to give money to my mom. And then I'm also probably going to keep some money for myself, probably not $1 million, but you know, give myself something. And then I guess the rest go to cows.
Go cows money.
Cows. But I am
Cows.
also going to buy, there's this really cute horse that I saw at in Calgary. Like my best friend Kira, she owns a horse, and we go out to Pritis, and she'll take me to the barn. And I'm not gonna lie, like I should almost share this on our stories, but the first time I like was walking beside her horse, I almost shit bricks because the thing is so big. He looks like a moose without antlers. Like he's giant. But anyways, inside the barn there's this little horse called Ladybug.
Yeah.
And she's like a half horse, half pony.
Yeah.
But she's like $45,000. But if you like hold a treat and you look at her and you're like, Ladybug kisses, she'll kiss you, and then you give her a treat. So like I would buy
That's super
Ladybug.
sweet.
But you know, that's the long-winded answer. I'm gonna have Ladybug, the half horse pony, and a shit ton of cows.
All right. Well, that's what we do with
And
5 million.
you want to know the best part? A shit ton of cows. They're gonna shit a lot. It's a
Yeah.
shit ton.
There is
a ton of
literally
shit.
A ton of shit.
Sorry, there's my brain.
Oh my gosh.
See, you missed this. I say
missed
the
this.
most
I'm so glad
unhinged
you're here.
things.
I'm so glad you're here. But that pretty much wraps up episode 6. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Thank you, producer LB, for being here as always, the unseen, unheard, lovely human behind all of us.
Who is consistently laughing at my jokes back there because
yeah.
somebody has to laugh at me.
He laughs with you.
Yeah.
It's with you.
I'm not gonna lie. If nobody laughed at my jokes, I think I'd have to stop recording podcasts because I'd
And
be
just go home and
embarrassed.
cry.
I'd be embarrassed. I'd have to go buy a joke book from Westgate and like learn some jokes. I mean, I can only tell my assassin jokes so many times. So
You've already done it on the podcast.
yeah, let me do it again. What has 2 butts and kills things?
What?
An assassin. Even though I already told you the answer. But okay, guys, let's finish off on a good note. So
Amazing.
we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time. We're gonna have a super fun episode. We're not gonna dive into a book per se, but we are gonna tell you what book we're reading next. So we'll see you in a week, and have the best week ever.
Bye, guys. Love you.
Love you guys.